This is the summarized main story of Arknights Endfield versions 1.3 to 1.4. Because 1.3 is a pretty short one for the main story, so I've decided to combine them in this video. Back in version 1.2, we successfully stopped Neferith and Ardashir's plan, which finally caused the Black Tide to recede. The Tianshi in Wooling City discovered an ancient place named Sword Vault Dale. They claimed that it could contain many ancient records and technological relics left by the Yannis, related to their ancestors and the origin of the Bureau of Swordmancers, a department of the Hongshan Academy of Sciences that researches and produces gadgets and weapons for the civilization of Talos-II against the Aggeloi. Hence, the entirety of version 1.3 main story is about you exploring Sword Vault Dale, solving puzzles powered by giant sword pillars and fending off native hostile monkeys called the Rock Howlers, who throw bananas at you. Along the way, you also befriend some of them and engage in a combat with a large one. In the end, instead of discovering the old technologies and relics that you initially expected, your team uncovers a collection of old cultural works, such as movies, writings, music, and more, stored inside a vault. Moreover, you also uncovered an audio recording of yourself from the distant past. Even though you do not remember it due to your memory loss, your past self reassures you that it is definitely worth protecting all of these cultural works so that later generations can one day uncover them. This allows everyone to remember once again exactly what they are protecting and fighting for. With that, the team is satisfied with the new findings and discoveries and vows to put all of these works from the past to good use in the present. And yes, that's basically it for the main story in version 1.3 alongside Mifu's character story quest about her settling her emotional burdens from her past in Qingbo Stockade, and Camille's character story quest about his brother Char's resentment, which I'm not going to cover in this video. Now, onto version 1.4. Following the development of the Serenite Nexus in the previous stories, it has now reached its final stage of upgrades, which will be carried out directly at Dijiang so that it can effectively escort the team on the way to the very large reef to steal it. Zhang Fangyi and Perlika insist that you rest while waiting for the Serenite Nexus to be completed. You do not get much rest, however. In your dreams, you have a vision of what appears to be the mysterious main villain girl who first appeared at the very beginning of the game story. This time, you see yourself lying on the ground while the mysterious girl somehow refers to you as her young brother. Then, you see a line of your mask moving along a conveyor belt. To me, this seems to hint that you, the Endministrator, may be more than just someone who loses your memories every time you wake up. Instead, you may be one of many clones based on a single consciousness, with a new one created each time you wake up. Again, those are just unconfirmed predictions of mine. Perlika and Zhang Fangyi wake you up, bringing you two pieces of good news. Besides informing you that the Serenite Nexus tuning has been completed, Zhang Fangyi also tells you that Arcane, who survived the harsh battles with Ardashir earlier, has finally awakened from her rest. You went to visit Arcane. She quickly summarized what has happened during her battle with Ardashir, where she claims that his ether powers will keep on restoring his body no matter how hard she tried to kill him, before the Feranmut Proxy, who possesses scroll-like powers, saved her, as we all know. She also added that through Ardashir's words, it could be implying that the very large rift is not the final but only part of his ultimate goal, and it seems to be related to some truth of his related to you, the admin, which shows that you are his ultimate target. Despite this unknown scheme, the very large rift is still the main problem on the surface, so the team still decides to follow the original plan to seal the very large rift. As for Arcane, even though she still hasn't fully recovered, she insists on joining the mission and continue leading the Yinglong Special Task Force on this matter. The team arrives at Yinglong Pass, which you can think of it as a giant defensive gate built to hold back the very large rift. It is heavily guarded by the Yinglong Special Task Force. Shortly afterward, blight creatures called Blight Shades begin to emerge from the gate, taking the forms of fallen Yinglong soldiers and attacking the team. Blight Shades are entities that can replicate the appearance of those who were consumed by blight. As a result, every time the team strike them, it also shakes their resolve, as though they are attacking their dead friends or family members, even though it is only an illusion. As the situation is about to get worse, the Feranmut Proxy, who has been helping the team remotely all this time, finally appears in person and lends them a hand. Her name is Si. She takes a look at the Serenite Nexus and claims that it will not be enough. Therefore, she offers help to further upgrade it through a ritual. While she prepares for the ritual, she suggests that you go to speak with Arashir, who is now being contained and imprisoned by Si, and after she rescued Arcane from their battle back then in the scroll-like world. You proceed to interrogate the imprisoned Arashir. You first ask him about his ether side powers and the Blight Shades, but he does not seem to able to provide any meaningful information beyond what you already know about them. He confirms that, although Neferith was the more extreme one, their shared goal was to open the very large rift and have you to stop them, which would inevitably lead you to discover the truth within it. He then claims that he was one of your followers in the past. When the conversation shifts to the mysterious Foundation, he once again stubbornly insists that you should be the one uncovering its secret yourself. With practically no answers obtained and only more questions raised, you leave. You discuss the mysterious Foundation with your team. Strangely, although the historical records about it are scarce, Pelika explained that it existed during the First Aggeloi War more than 100 years ago. According to the available records, it should have been already destroyed by your past self and the heroes of Terra. You head back and begin the ritual with Si to upgrade the Serenite Nexus. It is a long process during which you cross transparent bridges and activate multiple altars. The ritual is ultimately a success. Now, with the fully upgraded Serenite Nexus, which is powerful enough to protect the team from the intense levels of blight corruption, you are ready to venture beyond Yinglong Pass and approach the very large rift. Si, however, says that she will remain behind to ensure that the corruption does not spread past this point and reach Wuling City. Since this is the first time in ages that the citizens of Wuling City have had the chance to return to their original hometown, which was destroyed by the very large rift years ago beyond the gate, everyone is eager and well prepared for this homecoming mission. With that, the team marches into North Wuling Exclusion Zone, their former home, now consumed by blight spilling from the rift, ready to reclaim it from the catastrophe. The team immediately begins setting up Tianshi pillars and other equipment to clear the blight from the area. During this time, many people express a sense of sadness as they remember their fallen friends and family upon seeing their old homes again. This includes Da Pan, who pays his respect to an old friend who once owned an eatery there, and Li Feng, who is recklessly eager to find the belongings left behind by his late parents. For scouting purposes, Zhang Fangyi requests your help in teaming up with Arcane to act as the vanguard and venture deeper into the area first, clearing away obstacles and blight before the main team advances. Along the way, you have to fight more Black Shades, which once again takes the form of the fallen members of Yinglong Special Task Force. The blight also grows increasingly dense the deeper you go, making the Serenite Nexus an absolute necessity. At one point, however, you spot a non-hostile blight shade in the form of a child watching you from afar before it swiftly vanishes. The team presses deeper and arrives at Tanjian Hall, the school where young Arcane grew up. Hostile blight shades are just as active here. However, in the middle of a fight, Arcane is suddenly struck by a sharp headache, possibly because she has not fully recovered from her old injuries, combined with the flood of memories brought back by this place, leaving her in a dangerous situation. Luckily, you stop her just in time as she is about to mistakenly attack her teammates while disoriented by the headache.
这就是应龙的使命，是比生命更重要的东西。
你是对的，我不明白，为什么我是错的？
你通过了考核，今天起，你正式成为一名应龙队员了。
Arcane comes down, and everyone, especially Chen, insists that she take a rest before continuing. However, just as she is about to do so, Arcane spots the mysterious Blightshade child and immediately gives chase. The Blightshade child eventually vanishes once again, but the team soon encounters another mysterious Blightshade. Chen and Arcane quickly recognize it as their late master, Instructor Zhu. He shows no hostility towards the team, for now at least. Instructor Zhu leads the team into the hall and points towards the blight shades of the fallen soldiers, as if asking his students, Arcane and Chen, to put an end to them so that the fallen can finally rest in peace. Then, Instructor Zhu leads the team to neutralize a Howler Beast blight shade that was once Arcane's pet. In the end, Instructor Zhu has a final showdown with Arcane and Chen, and the sword fight between the master and his students is as though they have returned to their training days. Instructor Zhu proves himself to be a truly skilled master, managing to fight Arcane and Chen to a standstill despite being outnumbered 2-1. Finally, Arcane and Chen land the finishing blow, allowing them to bid farewell to their master one last time.
你觉得那是什么？石印罢了。
小陈这么厉害，通过选拔早晚的事吧。
依我看，还是你直言更准。
够好了。
Arcane then reminisces about the time when Chen swore that she wanted to travel to every dangerous place on Talos-II to fight every injustice. Although Chen ultimately did not qualify for the Yinglong Special Task Force like Arcane did, she still lived up to her words where now, as an Endfield operator, she travels the world alongside you, the Endministrator. As the team's mission is about to be completed, Chen personally voices her concerns about Arcane to you. She thinks that Arcane has been pushing herself too hard all this time, and that given her current condition, she might collapse at some point. Therefore, she asks you to help look after Arcane and pay extra attention to her. At one point, while scavenging for old research data from the rubble of the old Serenite research labs, you suddenly feel something strange once again. The same feeling you had during the dream at the very beginning of the story. It seems to hint that something lies beyond the rift, now that you are very close to it. Finally, after clearing the path for the main convoy team to advance, the team is now one ravine away from the destination. Therefore, a bridge is constructed for the team to cross. However, while crossing the bridge, you feel the same strange sensation again, and the rift suddenly releases a blast that destroys the bridge, causing everyone to lose their footing. Although everyone manages to help each other and return to safety, Arcane is the only one left behind, as Chen is too late to reach her hand, causing Arcane to fall into the ravine. Without much hesitation, you decide to split up from your team and head down into the ravine alone to rescue Arcane. Inside the ravine, there are many black shades as expected, including non-hostile ones that seems to take the forms of Arcane's late friends and family. However, because Arcane has just suffered a fall and has not yet fully recovered, she struggles to defend herself against the enemies. Fortunately, just as she is on the verge of collapse, you arrive in time and help her escape the danger. Arcane faints in your arms. You gently adjust her position so that she can lie down and rest comfortably. While she is unconscious, you tend to her wounds and provide treatment, waiting for her to wake up. And here goes your admin dating moments after she wakes up. She pinches your cheek to make sure that you are not an illusion. She then blushes, looking shocked and a little ashamed, and asks why you would come down to rescue her instead of staying with the main team. Knowing that the usual caring answers would not work on someone with her strict and tense personality, you falsely claim that you came down only to search for Adashi's secret and the rift. You do this to make her less self-critical and stop her from blaming herself for everything. It is not very noticeable at this time, but this marks a major turning point where Arcane begins to change after being exposed to your risk and kindness. On the way to finding the exit, the two of you witness several non-hostile Black Shades, and they seem to be fleeing. Among them is the mysterious Black Shade child once again, who turns out to be a lost child from the past. Soon, Arcane realizes that it is her younger self. and that the other Black Shades are indeed her late friends and family. They are all trying to escape, just as they did when the very large rift incident occurred and destroyed both their homes and their lives. The presence of Arcane's Black Shade does not mean that Arcane is actually dead. Instead, it suggests that Black Shades may take the forms of moments from the past, regardless of whether the people they represent are alive or dead. Arcane was one of the very few, possibly the only one, to survive in that neighborhood. Young Arcane then shows the two of you those memories one by one, each of them piercing Arcane's heart more deeply than the last, until another similar blast of light suddenly dissipates every Black Shade. It is as though the moment when everyone except Arcane died in the disaster is being replayed, leaving her alone once again. Fortunately, using your powers, you manage to reconjure the Black Shades and remind Arcane that she carries the hopes of all those who fell. You tell her to never give up on life, especially in moments like this. In the end, she finally finds closure. After bidding her final farewell to her Black Shade parents, you and Arcane refocus on searching for the source of the blast. You eventually discover a mysterious giant sword infused with ether energy. There is no time for questions, however, as the two of you immediately begin using the Serenite Nexus on it to ensure that the blast never happens again. During the process of disabling the sword, the two of you are suddenly pulled into a mysterious space where you begin free falling. Fortunately, with your help and the assistance of the Black Shade of young Arcane, the two of you manage to complete the task, though it comes down to a close call. Finally, after some further exploration, you manage to rendezvous with Perlika and Chen, and eventually reunite with the main team alongside Zhuangfang Yi. During the conversation between Chen and Arcane, Chen notices that something feels different about Arcane, even though Arcane denies it. This is because you had made a promise with Arcane that whatever happened inside the ravine would remain between the two of you. Another thing to note about the mysterious sword is that after explaining the findings to everyone else, it finally gives shape to the Willinger's empty hatred. Perhaps the very large rift is not simply a catastrophe, but the result of someone else's actions, intentionally caused to destroy their homes. Finally, you, Perdica, Chen, Arcane and Zhuangfang Yi arrive face to face with the very large rift. However, as Zhuangfang Yi begins the sealing process, something emerges from within the rift, a moving statue-like giant with the name Alikrios that calls you his juvenile maker, even though you clearly have no idea what is happening. You only recognize that the being in front of you is an enemy.
Sudano, Ishta Sudana, Terra, Blavos, White, Ujvali Shirara, Terra, Nachvoka, Hokurka, White.
我继续。
如今，我依旧有向您宝剑，那么，请宽恕我的僭越。
The giant asks whether you are ready to give up Terra and return to some throne, which you refuse. This refusal sparks a battle between your team and the giant, during which he summons the mysterious sword from the ravine earlier as his weapon. The battle is fierce, but your team comes prepared. At the brink of its defeat, the giant questions why you disown them and adds that you have been deceived by a specific her. You neutralize it with everything you have as cracks begins to form on your face. The moment Zhuangfang Yi successfully seals the rift, everyone outside recognizes the good news, finally putting an end to the catastrophe that had destroyed people's homes. However, among the scenes shown afterwards, we also see the mysterious main villain girl elsewhere, seemingly aware of what has happened. On your side, people are overjoyed and celebrate, but on the other side, the antagonists of the story seem to be preparing more schemes. At Ardashir's prison, Neferith, who was once believed to have been killed during the battle with you and the Woolingers in the previous versions, mysteriously reappears. She appears to be wounded, carrying the scars from her supposed death. Ardashir is not shocked to see that Neferith is still alive. However, he is genuinely surprised where he sees that Neferith possesses a stone, or more accurately, the protocol Originium of Alikrios, a stone that was previously carried by the giant statue. Neferith kills Ardashir, though it remains uncertain whether Ardashir is truly dead, as he has already been killed multiple times by Arcane before, only to regenerate his body afterward. With her unknown schemes, which involve her sudden betrayal of her own allies, Neferith claims that she will meet Ardashir again on Talos-II. Coming back to you, everyone seems to finally be able to rest now that the battle has been won. However, it comes at a great cost. One of the consequences is that your body begins to show strange reactions, and it appears to be closely linked to the Ether side, the Foundation, and the Exiles. Si speaks to you personally. She looks at the cracks on your face, which she seems to know something about it, and claims that the Ether is corrupting your body. She plans to help you with your condition, but the conversation is interrupted when she becomes aware of Ardashir's death in her prison and informs you about it. Back at Dijiang, you also express your concerns about your condition to M3. With that, the version 1.4 story comes to an end. Thanks for watching.